This is Rebecca Schissel-Marshall with Whole Body Upgrade, a podcast to help you get unstuck, feel better, and have more energy. Let's get started. Episode number 50, Easy Methods to Help Get Your Clients Unstuck, Part 3. So I want to begin by welcoming in my compassionate and loving spirit guides. I welcome in the great direction of the east, the direction of the south, great direction of the west and the north. I welcome in the direction that is above, the direction that is below, and the great direction that is within. I welcome in all of the helping compassionate spirit guides, as well as the ancestors who have lived well and died well. I acknowledge that I'm on the land at the creek in the Cherokee in what is now known as Athens, Georgia. So, welcome, dear ones. How are you? How are you doing? This is episode 50, which feels crazy. It feels absolutely crazy. I started this podcast when the pandemic first started. I had the idea, and being a true manifesting generator and a quick start, if you know the Colby types, I wanted to do a podcast, and so I did. I just did it right away. So now there are 50 episodes. It's crazy. And when you listen to this, I will have finished the masterclass. So that's super exciting. And now the Centered Wellness Training the applications are open and available, and the applications are actually open we're doing early bird applications accepted until June 20th, and then applications will be open until July 1st, and then that'll be it. That'll be it for this year. So I am glad to be here with you today talking about these easy methods to help get your clients unstuck. This is part 3 in the 4-part series. So this week is all about the spiritual wellness body, or about spirit. And we're going to be talking about how working with this particular wellness body as a coach can help get your clients unstuck more. So in the last 2 episodes, we've been talking about energy and been talking about nutrition and, about the physical body, and how all of those aspects can really help get your clients unstuck by using this dynamic and multi-dimensional approach to coaching instead of just using coaching. Of course, I think coaching is extremely beneficial, and I feel like this multi-dimensional approach is just very rich. And it can help get clients unstuck in many different areas: in health, in business, in relationships, in life. The spiritual wellness body is just another aspect to this multi-dimensional approach. And while I'm talking about them separately, they really all go together. It's very challenging to separate them out because they do influence each other so much. So I'll be talking today just about 2 different aspects of spirit and how they relate to this holistic coaching model. And so I'll talk specifically about soul essences and about spiritual guides. And I've talked about soul essences before on the podcast. So this is not something terribly new. It's just we're looking at it from a different perspective of, instead of how it may affect you, but how it may affect your clients. So soul essences are part of who we are. We have not just a soul, but lots of different types of soul essences. And there's so many different parts of these soul essences. From the shamanic viewpoint, when there is a difficult or a challenging or a traumatic experience in our lives, that an aspect of the soul, one part of these soul essences, may go into hiding, because in that moment, it may not be safe, right? The viewpoint of that soul essence is like, hey, this is not safe. I'm out of here. This is actually quite a common occurrence in our lives. This happens quite regularly. We all have difficulty or challenging experiences. And yes, some of us even have traumatic experiences with a capital T that can be really difficult, right? The world can be a really difficult place. So many of our clients, or if you're listening of this from your own point of view or us, are walking around with soul essences that have gone into hiding. Now, there's nothing bad or wrong with that. That's just kind of the way it happens. It can be a very practical viewpoint. What this can look like, well, the way that this shows up for ourselves or for our clients, is that clients may say that they don't feel whole, they feel dissatisfied, they feel incomplete, they feel like something's missing, or they may feel depressed or stuck. Clients know that they feel dissatisfied, and you may see that when you're working with them with thought work or mindset, that isn't enough, that they keep kind of circling back over and over again. It just seems like a really persistent thought or a persistent belief, and it may feel like it's not budging, right? That there's not a lot of wiggle to it. So I've seen this often. Well, I've seen this in lots of different areas, but I've seen this often for clients who are building their businesses or revamping their wellness, or for people who are just simply wanting to move forward in their lives. The soul retrieval can be an integral component. Soul retrieval is when a soul essence that's in hiding is ready and willing to come back. And that can really help clients move forward, right? So instead of this part that's missing, you can bring it back so that the individual has the components necessary in order to do what they want to do, in order to get moving again in the way that they want to. What's really interesting to me, the reason that this is so powerful, is this is not something that's a common knowledge. It's not something we talk about in society, that soul retrieval is something that's needed. It's definitely not something that's included in most coach trainings. And it used to be an integral part of society when more indigenous cultures and when there were shamanic practitioners in the villages, in the communities, in the societies, where this was just something that was done. Oh, you've had a difficult experience, you've had a trauma, you've lost a loved one, you've gone through a separation of some sort, and let's just bring that soul essence that's in hiding back so that you can continue to move forward in your life. When that is then brought back, we have the clients available to us to then clear those thoughts, to then look at some of those emotions in a very different way. The second aspect that can be brought into coaching that hasn't been brought into coaching consistently, it depends on the coaching practice. I see this one a little more often, is working with guides and intuition. Most of the coaches that I know, the ones that went through the coach training that I went to, they tended to lean towards this, that they were a little more open to talking about their guides or wanting guides or using their intuition. And so I think this was used a little bit more regularly. And I can't say enough about this because really my helping compassionate guides that I've met, that I've worked with, are a key component to not only evaluating, like to know what's going on with a client, and assessing what needs to be done, but also I'll use the word treating, right? What kind of treatment that you want to have done for the clients. Intuition and guides are very closely linked. For me, my intuition is really just a conversation that I'm having with my guides. So I'm going to focus on that for now, that those two kind of go together. I may have certain guides that I work with depending on the clients and the issue. So I have lots of different guides, and I have different guides that have different jobs, right? That they're experts at certain aspects of the healing work that I do. So there may be different guides that I call on to work with different aspects, or different guides that are like, oh, I can help with that. I can help with that client. I'm here to work with you. So these guides are really the foundation of the work that I do with my clients. I receive information through my different senses. Sometimes it's images, sometimes it's words, or sometimes it's just really a knowing, a felt sense in my body of what is needed. These guides really are the superstars of the work that I do. I've just learned how to listen to them and receive that information. And that's what I think is extremely helpful in coaching. The more often that we can get out of the way and allow that information to come through from the many guides who are willing to have conversations with us. I know more coaches that have included this into their coaching, and maybe that's because I'm a more spiritual based coach and I tend to know more spiritually based coaches. And again, it's just, I found it to be really powerful. So the shamanic training that I did, this is where it gets really interesting is, right, I have the guides that I knew before I knew shamanic training. So they are guides that I know, and a lot of coaches that I know work with guides. And then there were like very specific shamanic guides that I was introduced to. And in that framework, it really gave me a deeper way of understanding and gathering information that I'm referring to with clients, right? So it's not just, oh, you need to have a guide. It's that there are certain guides that can be super helpful. And I'll refer back to the last episode, the first episode in this series on energy, right? Extracting energy. That is, I have a certain guide that I call on to help me. Actually, I have several guides that help with clearing energy that's not needed. I have a guide that helps with bringing back the soul essences, right? So these guides are part of the spiritual aspect, but they can help with the energetic aspect. There's some guides that actually help me with the emotional or the mind. They'll say, there's a thought there that you need to find. So then we'll go into more traditional thought work, right? Looking at maybe Byron Katie's work or Brooke Castillo's work. That piece or the mindset of just what do I want to believe? What do I know to be true for myself? And what kind of a life do I want to have, right? Those pieces can be guided by the spiritual work, by the guides, and by intuition. So the thing about the guides is that there's so many available, and they're here to help us in these different forms. When you, one, know which guides to ask for help and know which guides to call on for this support. And you may find that you have a specific guide that helps you with coaching or with certain clients or with certain tasks or certain approaches. These can be teachers in human form. These can be animals, right? There can be so many different guides that are available to us, and they're all powerful in their different ways. So you might be thinking, well, why should I be doing that if these are shamanic practices? Can't I just refer to a shamanic practitioner to do this? And the answer is yes, of course. You can. You can simply do coaching, stay in the coaching area and refer on and say, I know that coaching can help you in this way, and a shamanic practitioner may be able to help you in that way. And I think there are lots of ways that you can work with shamanic practitioners as a team, which I think is super helpful, right? I want to just highlight that that's a great option, especially someone who has some sort of shamanic training that is aware of whatever it is, the type of work that you're doing with clients. And what I've also seen is that it can be extremely powerful when it is incorporated with the coaching, the nutrition, the energy work, all of that together. When that gets incorporated, mindfulness, right? All these pieces, it really strengthens the work that you do with the client because it becomes this really effortful flow. It isn't like you're just doing this one thing and then they're going to someone else to deal with this. I find that it really magnifies their ability to see what's going on and clears it much more quickly. So it strengthens the work that we do for clients, and it quickly, I just can't emphasize how quickly this helps to clear things and clears this path for your clients. And what I think is that that's really what I want, is how quickly can I get results for a client. Not just any result, but a really good quality result. And it can also help you with those more complex clients. The other piece that is different in the centered wellness framework and training is that it's also about teaching your clients how to do this for themselves. This model, the centered wellness framework and the centered wellness training, what I'll be teaching people, is a very empowering way. I find that it's really nice to be able to come to me, and I want my clients to be able to do this for themselves so that I'm teaching them to be able to connect with their guides. I'm teaching them to be able to use the coaching for themselves. I'm teaching them to be able to notice when the energy is not theirs and needs to be cleared, or if they can even clear it themselves, right? So it's a different level of training. It's not just come to me and I'll do this for you, which is a very different model for me. I like, especially because I tend to work with women, I like to empower them as much as I possibly can. So it's building their own connection with their guides, with their intuition, with their own knowledge about nutrition. And it's crucial to navigating the world in my perspective. And really, this is how I see it become such a big part of changing the world, is because it's not just that clients come to me and they're changed, it's that they're changed. Like, they are changed because they are doing things differently. And that is really important. So through this series, I've been talking about these different components. We've talked about energy, we've talked about the physical body and nutrition, and we've talked about now this spiritual aspect. And what really happens is when they're all pulled together, there is real magic, right? It's this integration that's so important. And I like to say what happens is they're magic, except it isn't really magic at all, because it's based on a framework. Like, it's not just like poof and then it happens, right? It's actually, we know how they all interact. I can teach you how they all interact and why it's so important. So it looks like magic, but it's not really magic at all. It's based on this framework where everything is connected. So everything within our clients is going to influence everything else within them. What they eat influences their mind, their emotions, their spirit, their energy. All of it is influenced. What your clients eat is going to influence their ability to connect with their guides. And so I'll be talking more about integration and the importance of integration in next week's episode, in the final of this series of 4. Okay, my lovely friends, I love talking to you about how this can change the world, about how this integration is important, and about how this is different. And I hope this information about spirit and how it fits in with coaching is helpful for you as you're looking at how to really up-level your coaching skills and how to amplify your clients' progress. Again, we'll talk about integration of all of these together because it is an integrative model, and how these different skills aren't traditionally a part of coach training. So how it can boost your own practice. So I hope you will consider joining me next week, as well as learning more about the centered wellness training. Again, the applications are open for that. And I'll put a link in the show notes. The centered wellness training starts in July. The application's closed July 1st. So don't miss out on this opportunity. It'll be a small group of individuals and very deep training. Okay, I hope you take good care of yourself. I'll see you next time. Bye. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Whole Body Upgrade. If you'd like to learn more about working with me, you can visit me on Facebook or Instagram, or on my website, CenteredYou, that's CenteredYou.com. See you on the next episode of Whole Body Upgrade.